1, 2, 3, FCA!
Okay, continuing to work our way through the Blue Belt curriculum. And tonight, we brought it back to absolute beginner basics. We looked at some of the Gracie self-defense. So a very basic principle for me. I don't get into fights when no one's paying me for it, right? I do not get into fights in a bar. I'll do anything possible to avoid being in a fight. I don't care what name someone's calling me, how insulting they're being. I do not want to get into a fight because it's just absolutely not worth it. I'm an old man, I've got a family, it's just absolutely not worth it. But at the same point, I'm a trained martial artist, I've got to be able to know how to defend myself were I to be in that situation. So the very typical thing, I grew up in the UK, there's a lot of bar fights in the UK. I grew up in the UK, you see the same things here. You see someone posturing when they're trying to intimidate someone. And it's like two animals, they'll size each other up. Before they actually get into putting hands on each other, they're going to size each other up. So people try to make themselves look big and look tough. So you get a lot of this going. Yeah, what are you looking at? Okay? This is a sign that someone's trying to size me up. Now, if I let this guy get into that posture and get too close to me, and I've got my hands down, he could very easily sucker punch me and knock me out. My jiu-jitsu is not worth anything when I've just been sucker punched. So I am not going to let him get close to me with my hands down. The second he gets into a striking range, my hands are going to come up. But I don't want to immediately get into a fight stance. I've trained a bunch of stand-up. I can handle myself in a stand-up fight. But if he gets close to me and I get into a fight stance, I'm telling him this is a fight. I don't want to have a fight. I also have to be very aware of the law. I don't want to get killed, right? I don't want to get hurt. But I also don't want to win the fight and then go to jail. That doesn't help me at all. So I have to be aware of what the situation looks like to everyone else around. If I'm getting into a fight stance, I'm a big guy with tattoos in a fight with someone else. When the police turn up later, even if I've knocked this guy out, I've controlled this guy, whatever, when the police turn up, yeah, that big guy with the tattoos, yeah, he got in a fight with that guy, he knocks him out, he chokes him out. The police are going to be, and I'm going out with handcuffs on. I don't want that. But I also don't want to leave myself unprotected. So the second he looks like he's getting into range, my hands are going to come up. But I use this prayer position. My hands are in front of my face. But to anyone looking at this situation, I'm calming the situation down. To a bystander who's asked by the police what happened afterwards, this guy was being aggressive. The other guy tried to calm him down. The guy wouldn't calm down, so he had to defend himself. I could be calling his mother all the names under the sun, but to anyone who's looking on, loud music playing in the bar, I'm calming it down. He's being an aggressor. Okay? So my hands are up here. This does a couple of things. Like I've said, it means my hands are up in a defensive posture. It means to a bystander, I'm looking like I'm placating the situation. I am not escalating the situation with my body language. I'm also putting a target directly in front of his eyes. If he knows striking, he wants to punch straight punches at me. I don't want that. If he doesn't know, I want to have something straight here. So if he throws a straight punch, if he throws a jab or a straight punch, my hands are here to block it. I can immediately go into fight. Okay. But what's most likely to happen, because this is directly in the way, he'll go round that barrier with a looping punch. Far easier for me to defend. So my hands are up. As he throws his looping punch, I step in. And I step in with my T-Rex hooks. If I come backwards, I'm right on the end of that range. If I miss with my defense, I'm getting knocked out. As he swings and I come in, I'm out of the danger range. The danger is at the end of the punch. Yeah, he's going to bump into me, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm now connected with him. I hook over his biceps with my T-Rex. My elbows are down. I am in close. From here, in this scenario, I'm going to switch to a takedown, so I'm going to circle my arms underneath for underhooks. I'm going to get a good clasp grip with my hands. I'm going to pull my elbows into my body and I push with my chest and my head. I step round his leg and I hook him to the ground. I can follow him to the ground. finish the fight on the ground, or I could dump him. Situational awareness, get out of it. So that was our takedown technique, and also a little bit of self-defense that we started off with today. We then moved on to on the ground, lying on the ground, looking at my side mount position. My side mount position is not a single static position. It's a dynamic set of positions that allows me to control him. And when I cycle through my positions, what I'm trying to do is get him more and more out of position. My big focus when I'm in the side is this arm. If this arm is close to his body and between us, he has a real good frame to hip escape and get out. Get his knees back in and escape. So the first thing I want to do is kill this close arm. I love to go to my modified scarf hold. Typically when I'm passing the guard, I use a lot of knee cut. I go straight to this position. Or I've passed, I've got here, I clear this arm up. My knee is coming under his shoulder. Regular scarf hold is here. I'm giving him too straight a route to my back. So we use modified scarf hold, which is where I have an underhook. My ribs are into the bottom of his ribs, blocking his solar plexus. This left foot is my strength and my prop and my drive. My hip is down, but my weight is not in my hip. If my weight's in my hip and my leg, it's not pinning him. This leg allows me to drive. I'm aiming right up under the solar plexus. He's not liking this. I'm taking the breath away. From this, my first switch is to clear this arm up and bring my knee all the way up to his head. My right leg goes straight. My elbow's going to come in against his head. And I switch to my 100 kilos position. My right arm is now blocking his hip. And I am pinning his chest still. I could drive off my toes here, and I have completely isolated this arm. And I'm starting to look at attacks on this arm. So I can switch off to attacking this arm if I want to, or I can switch off to attacking this arm. My next movement from here is to diagonally switch my hips again and drop my left hip. See how I switch and stay low, 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 low. My leg comes through. My left hip is now close to the ground. Again, my right foot is creating drive. My weight is not on my hip. My weight is driving through this leg and pinning into him. I'm now in a position to attack this far arm. Going for attacks onto it here. I've also got my knee here blocking his hip, stopping him moving in. And if he starts moving out, I can follow him very easily. From here, I will scooch once, twice to twist his spine and get really nice and high. I'm then going to bring my knee up high and go downwards into a mat. I'm shooting for grapevine. My hips coming down into the solar plexus. This arm is coming up under this arm. I'm isolating. I'm looking to attack things as I come up. I control this position and let the fight go out of him. He's going to bump around. He's going to try and escape. I can control this really nicely and really take his breath out of him. At the point where I feel ready, I'm now going to switch off from my submission, which we did today. So from here, I can switch to a higher mount position, or I can look from it from low. What I'm looking for, I'm going to go high so you can see what I'm doing. I'm looking to open his gi, get my fingers inside. These are going to slide up, and I'm going to make a fist of this hand. Once this hand is hooked in real close to the label, real close to his neck, my elbow comes down into his chest. I'm not coming across, I'm coming down into his chest. And this becomes like a crowbar, a pry bar. My wrist is locked, so as I go down into my chest, I'm actually bringing his head up. When we looked at the escape from the mount, when we hip bump, we go towards the side the head is. So my danger is in this direction. So I'm going to get low and wide. My head could go all the way to the ground. If he bumps me in this direction, he's really not going to go very far. I've got a real solid base out this side. and I'm heavy in here, until I feel that the fight's gone out of him enough, I will switch my head to the other side. This is the arm that's trapped. This is the side he wants to take me. But my hand can come all the way out here. I can make a really strong base to stay in a good position. From here, the basic technique would be to just slide my elbow back till I find gi, get a grip, a drop for the choke. But the way I absolutely love to finish this is I come with my forearm across his head and I drive to the side until I find a nice bit of gi here. So I'm breaking the angle of his neck, breaking his strength. Sideways here till I get the gi exactly where I want, and then I'm going to circle round, bring my elbows to my body for the tap. So I've got my grip here, it goes like this into my chest, that elbows down towards the hip for the tap. So the technique again, I open it out, get my fingers in, he's trying to escape me, I stay heavy here. When I'm ready, I switch across to the other side. I get to his head, I push it to the side. Get the gi, thumb inside, circle, and choke. It's an incredibly tight choke. I was taught this by Roger Gracie. Roger Gracie, multiple-time world champion, and the most famous situation was, he won, I can't remember the year, but he won his weight division and the absolute at black belt every single match using this technique. To the guy down, past the guard, goes to mount, choke from the mount. There were a couple of slight variations on the finish, as you would expect, but if you're the 9th person in a row going into that match, you're probably like, okay, whatever happens, I don't care what else happens, I am not gonna get cross-choked from the mount. Gets cross-choked from the mount. So, you know, you could search for those videos online. There's lots of examples of Roger doing this technique. He's the absolute master at it. I don't pretend to be anywhere near as good as him, but that's who I learned it from and who I've tried to model my technique off. The point of breaking the neck to the side, I say this to the team a lot. I'm strong when I am in a natural athletic position. Anyone who wants to try bench pressing, you go, you set up on the bench press, you're standing up nice and square. That's my powerful strength. You know, next time you're in the gym, just try setting up on the bar and then put your head down to one shoulder and try lifting. I don't recommend you do that with a personal best attempt. You will drop it on your chest. But you will very quickly notice how much weaker you are when your neck is twisted to one side or the other. A lot of the techniques that we're doing, we work off trying to disrupt people's athletic position. So with this choke, I'm disrupting it off to the side, and that allows me to get that choke in way tighter. It also really sucks. The person on the bottom, they're here. As you release to go for the choke, they're like, oh, back into it, and they're really just diving into that choke. So that was the techniques we covered today. So the basic self-defense techniques, that's on the blue belt curriculum. The different positions of side mount, modified scarf hold, 100 kilos, ready mount, those positions, they're on the curriculum, and cross choke from the mount is one of the submissions on our curriculum. Thanks for helping me out. Good training.
Well,